set.
Heart to heart. Noonas
Noonas Podcast Vida.
Vida.
Hey, it's the Noonas Podcast. We are back to the Noonas Podcast. It is your host, Jenny, as always with my co-host, Jenny, who decided to dress up as Ateez today. She surprised me on camera here as we're recording on camera. Totally surprised me with that, actually. That's why I kind of like caught off guard there for a second. I love your Ateez look. I really do.
Thank you.
I really got to work on my Ateez look. I know. Oh God, I fucking love Sans choreography. I'm sorry. I'm loving fireworks. Seriously, fireworks era, best era.
Which Megan was on there? Which Megan was on the video?
Oh my God, I know. Eventually we're gonna pop. I don't know. Maybe eventually get to video recording if I feel like comfortable actually showing my face on camera. Maybe one day. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Highly recommend it.
Possibly. Eventually, once I possibly have a background where I just basically plaster all my Kpop posters behind me.
No, and for my background, it's gonna be all just like cracked like photos of like every like Kpop groups.
Something like that too, because I have way too many Kpop posters and way too many Kpop albums, but that's okay. So one day, stay tuned. But anyway, we are back with the podcast. We have another exciting episode this week. Some actually exciting news, even to start the episode this week. As we found out yesterday, the day we're recording, that we finally got music back on Spotify. Our national nightmare is over, as in K-pop nightmare.
I keep saying the K-pop blip of the the Avengers universe.
Yeah, it's our Avengers level threat. The K-pop blip is over. We finally got an agreement between. That's now Kakao Entertainment. Apparently, they've changed their name. Formerly Kakao M, but Kakao Entertainment and Spotify agreed yesterday. This is Wednesday, March 10th, to actually put the music back on Spotify. And I can say officially, as of March 11th, the music is back on Spotify because I was able to listen to The Boys. I was able to listen to 17 today. So I was really, really excited. I actually nearly cried tears of joy because I was able to listen to him finally on Spotify.
You finally had to relapse on Spotify.
Oh my God. I tried YouTube Music. I tried Apple Music. The interfaces are so kind of wonky and weird in terms of trying to like configure things. I'm just so used to Spotify's really smooth interface and just how they are able to like really smoothly get music together. Also, the fact that they've had like 3 years of like listening experience on there too for K-pop. So that might help a little bit too. But yeah, it's really nice to finally actually have everything back on Spotify. So yeah, everything is back on there that we had lost. Everything, like, I know my boyfriend was really, really excited to have Epic High back on Spotify. And sure enough, I did actually listen to their album again today. And yes, it is fully back on Spotify. So it also is
too, right? Because since P Nation was really affected from the whole situation.
Yeah, P Nation was definitely affected. So yeah, everything from P Nation's back on there. FNC Entertainment's back on there because I know SF9 and P1 Harmony had lost everything on there. And yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff. I mean, IU, who's having a comeback in a couple weeks, is.
All right. Did you hear?
Is going. Yeah, IU has all her stuff back on Spotify finally. So yeah, it's a really big deal. So.
Yeah, speaking of IU, I was wondering. I was saying, did you hear? Because IU and Dean are finally having a collaboration work together.
Ooh,
I think it's finally hear that.
I know. Nice to finally hear new stuff from Dean. It's been a while.
I know, right? Everything like he talks about his songs in like in the whole anthem section in Valentine's Day. I think he heard her call. I think he heard her call.
Yeah. Oh. He heard us hope for more music, and he's come back. So thank you. Also, our playlists from those are finally saved too. So thank God. But besides, obviously, the K-pop blip being solved, we have a couple other news stories to touch on. Just some quick, some stories to touch on this week. No major scandals, finally, for once, this week. Knock on wood. Knock on all the hard surfaces. We have no scandals to talk about this week. So we just have some quick stories to talk about. One group is disbanding, which was kind of coming. We kind of knew about, as well as a whole slew of solo artist reveals coming from SM Entertainment. We're gonna kind of touch on real quick. And then we got an album review this week from a group that both Ginny and I really, really like, WayV.
I was thinking about something else, but no, yeah, we're going to talk about WayV first, and then we're going to be talking about yours.
Yes, and then we're going to get into. So we decided, since Kingdom Legendary War is coming very, very soon to our TVs as we're actually recording. I know they've actually started filming some of the episodes for the show. And since the show is debuting on April 1st, we decided to do Rookiepedia sessions for all 6 groups of the show. And only to be fair, we decided to go through them alphabetically. And so guess which group starts first? Yes, we're going to be talking about Ateez fully in depth today. I'm actually going to be fully talking about Ateez
I really think the show is going to be like spanned into like 2 hours, because this is going to include like all of your like concepts and how like Ateez
No, I can't. Seriously, after reading the diary from the album, because I got my albums last week, and reading the diary and stuff, and how much sci-fi stuff they added to this universe now, I don't know what the hell's happening. Like, I'm still waiting, because I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop, because I swear they're going to drop some like second music video, or they're going to drop some second video period this comeback cycle before we're done, and it's just going to completely throw all of A10E just completely insane. So I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. So I'm not gonna you're just gonna wait for me to go crazy is what you're gonna wait for.
And it's gonna scam me with a lot of like your whole Wisham members in the group. No, I'm not looking forward to that at all.
No, like I said, my friends, I'm apparently, according to them, I'm the quote unquote lore whore. So I'm the one who's like the one trying to figure out what the hell's happening.
I'm the one with the lore.
Oh my god. No.
I don't know what I'm gonna say here.
Wow. No. No. But let's before we get into that, and no, I'm not going to go super in depth into the universe, because like I said, if I do that, I need video to do that, because there's like so much symbolism and stuff throughout their whole entire discography. I just want to go more into actually the members and their history and their music today. If I go into their whole entire universe, that's more of like a whole symbologic kind of thing, because there's lots of symbols throughout their universe, throughout their music videos and their albums and stuff too, that really need to be shown before. That's more visual than me describing them. So
and you best know we're gonna have like a bunch of like pictures and slideshows, so you better like check out the video on Facebook for Under the Metropolis, so you can like take a better visual on like what we're talking about, like in like some of the concepts we might just like delve on a bit. So
if I do eventually start delving into a little bit of it today, so if I do, I apologize. I'm going to try not to get super nerdy. I'm going to try to do a brief history.
We're going to hear some cuts, like anyways,
a brief glimpse in their universe. Anyway, but let's get into the news first. Let's hit the news before we get into the album review. So yeah, like I said, we get the Kpop Blip. That's out of the way. Let's hit these SM comebacks, because all of a sudden we just got hit with SM just dropping all these solo like release news, right? Out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, like a whole bunch of different like artists from a whole bunch of different groups are coming back with solo debuts or solo comebacks,
collabs, and yeah,
it was just like out of nowhere. It's like the springtime is going to be full of like solo either solo collaborations or solo comebacks or solo debuts from, I mean, everything. We knew Baekhyun's coming back next month, I believe,
with Sungchan, like a tribute of some NCT Sungchan, because like his emoji is like a deer when you see him on social media. So it was like the title's named Bambi. So I bet like Sungchan like somewhere like for me.
So we have Baekhyun. Isn't Chanyeol dropping something before he goes off to the military?
I thought he was just like going into like some filming, or no, just I thought like he'll be starring in some shows or movies. That's what I thought.
Okay, I wasn't sure if he was dropping something before he went to the military, because I know he's going into the military at the end of the month. From EXO, we have Taeyong from NCT, our fearless leader from NCT, who's now going to be doing is having a solo debut as well, right?
Yes, so Taeyong as well, and also don't forget Dio will be also having a solo debut this
Yes.
year as well. So other than
Yeah,
Big Sun,
Dio coming back
another
as
solo,
he's
yeah, like a vocalist king in EXO. So I'll be looking forward to that.
yeah, as he's now back from the military as well. Coming as comeback, probably is a really good comeback actually now post military career for him. And then we also have Wendy debuting solo from Red Velvet, since we had Irene and Slugi who debuted as a duo last year. Now we have
She's also
another.
favorite singers in K-pop because I really like her voice as well as her her look. She looks so soft. Like she looks so pretty. You know.
Yeah, I think she's got a great voice. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what she's gonna bring to the table in terms of her solo debut, or her solo concept, or what we're gonna see from her when she does debut as a soloist. So yeah, I mean, SM is just really kind of rolling it out here with like a bunch of big solo debuts coming. As well as obviously work with all their groups and stuff too. So it's going to be a very jam packed year, I think, or even a jam packed spring, early summer. I think in terms of music, just rolling out and seeing what's going to happen. So is there any any that you're really really excited to see, or like really amped to see?
I'm because I think I got a sense that Taeyong would be doing some like solo projects because he's been like kind of hinting about like some work he's been doing during V Live.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. Pretty much like everyone from the SM because I'm really familiar with the like the artists from that company and yeah, I'll be looking forward to each of like their how like different they'll sound and yeah, hopefully they get like their own success and in their careers.
We'll have to wait and see. It's gonna be exciting. I mean, besides all the other debuts and other new music that's going to be coming out, coming out come this spring. So there's always new music coming out. So have those to look forward to added onto our schedule to keep an eye out for. So stay tuned for those reviews when they do come. But we also have another major group that has announced. They actually announced yesterday, March 10th. That is the group is One. They were the winners of season. I think it was the season 4. I think it produced 48. They have officially announced that they are going to disband at the end of their contract in April. Which was to be expected. This usually happens with the end of any of the produce groups. It happened with IOI. It happened with 101. Both of those groups were winner groups. IOI being a girl group, 101 being a male group. Happening with
Eyes
IZ*ONE
One
even,
too, right? Eyes
and
One.
IZ*ONE is IZ*ONE's having this happened to. They were the top 12 winners of the Produce 48 season, and with them disbanding. And the thing is, like, they are currently one of the most successful girl groups currently going right now. They're probably the most successful behind Blackpink and Twice. They're like the top in the top 3. So like
Yeah,
this is
they
why
won
it's
like
such
a bunch of
big
day
news.
sounds too last year as well.
Yeah, they were winning. They were sweeping awards at I know at Mama and at Melon and at Golden Disc. They were winning big awards, lots of day songs. So the fact that they're disbanding is a really, really big news. And so I know a lot of fans are upset because they think they wanted to see the contract extended to see them constantly continue further on. But I think it's pretty common that these groups usually do only last about a year to 2 years, depending on whatever the contract is.
Yeah.
Also to note too that the produce name has kind of had a tarnish to it too because of a vote fixing scandal.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I just like took a glimpse in like Soompi, I believe, or somewhere on social media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that might be another topic we have to get into another day, because I know that's actually just finally kind of got settled up at the Supreme Court level, where I think 2 of the executive producers of the show actually I think are facing jail time.
Yeah.
on the vote fixing. So, because it came out that there was like some really weird math, and basically what happened is like a lot of like basically the votes, because people were voting to, for their favorite idols to continue forward in the show, because it's a competition show, much kind of like American Idol-esque in a way. But it's a bunch of idols coming from different agencies and competing to be in a group that, promotes together for about a year or two. But yeah, there was some weird math where somehow like basically like producers are trying to like push like who they thought they wanted together forward into the show, and so it just didn't look right to fans, and it found out, and found out there was basically they were fixing the vote, and so it basically killed the produce franchise in a sense, and kind of tarnished the name a little bit, even though Iswan has created some really good music. I do actually have some of their music on my Spotify playlist. But it's sad to see them kind of go, but they're going out on top, I think. They're having a fan concert this weekend, literally for their fans. So like that's like one last big hurrah for them, I think.
Okay, that's good though. That's good.
So I think it'll be a little bittersweet for the fans, I think, because I think they like to see them go forward. I know fans, because there's been rumors going on like what the girls are going to be doing. The biggest rumor coming out right now is that one of the members, Sakura, might be signing with Big Hit Entertainment because Big Hit's been talking about debuting a girl group very, very soon. And so, but that's neither confirmed nor denied by Big Hit. So that's the thing.
Big Hit, like, no comments on that.
Pretty much. So we don't know what's going to happen. And we don't know what's going to happen with the girls. We've seen a lot of people who've come from these groups do go on to become really successful soloists.
Yeah.
For example, we talked about Chungha. Yeah. And Kang Daniel was who was a really popular male soloist who was in 101. So there's still really, they're still going. They still create music afterwards. A lot of them do go back to who have actually competed before, have gone back to their groups. I can't remember what one of them, but I think one of the members in 101 was actually a member of New West. And so while he got high enough into the show that he was in 101 for 2 years. So New West was a group of 4 for a while he was in 101. And then when 101 finished up their promotions, then he went back into New West. So things like that work out. So it's how it works. So, but it's sad, but like I said, they're going out on top, I think.
Yeah,
which I'm really happy for the girls.
Yeah, kind of like a GOT7 narrative too.
Yeah, well, with GOT7, at least they're coming back with music. Yeah. So, but that we know eventually, even though they're all now scattered back to the other corners of the world currently, but we know they'll be coming back together for music eventually. So,
right.
But I think that's it for the news this week. So I think we should get into our album review of the week.
The only album review we're going to do.
The only review, because we actually had a slow week in music for once. And which is kind of nice to catch our breath for a minute. But
I know someone is going to be coming up with like new music, I think on Friday, I believe, but we'll be able to talk about that next week.
No, we do have a big solo debut coming out this Friday. We're recording on Thursday, so we won't be talking about it this week. It'll be on the show next week. That is Rose from Blackpink. So that will be on next week's show. I'll be talking about her solo debut. But this week we're going to be talking about WayV and WayV's comeback, their third mini album. It's actually been about almost a year since they've had an album come out, because we had music from them come out, because we had some stuff with Residence.
Almost a year now, because I think I remember. It's kind of weird because usually if whenever and SM promotes with NCT, it usually comes with 127 first, and then Dream. And then they think about like prioritize WayV last, but I'm like really surprised that they're actually like shifted WayV into like the second subgroup to promote under NCT, and I'm happy that they're like coming up with more stuff, and it's been like less than like a year now, because I think their full album, which was Awaken the World, I think it came out like in the late summer.
It came out early summer. I just checked. It came out in June of last year. So it's been, because I remember coming out like early summer, because I remember jamming to
Right.
it like early working from home days during the
Right.
pandemic last year. So yeah, and so yeah, they're back now with their third album. But yeah, I'm really actually happy to know that they really are prioritizing WayV, considering
Right.
and we talked about this on our Rookiepedia episode with WayV, being, you know, the Chinese branch of the NCT massive supergroup that is
Also,
NCT.
yeah, even like I mean, we can also briefly mention about like the tensions between China and Korea too, and even
Mm-hmm.
like we could talk about when if we talk about EXO one of these days. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm just kind of glad that
Yes.
SM is really hopefully they're improving on like focusing like on their Chinese members and like giving them like more shine, and hopefully they're yeah putting like giving them as like much as equal benefits as to like the Korean members too.
Yeah, or even their other international members, other like the Japanese
Right.
or the the American members too. So, but yeah, and, yeah, we're like I said, they're back with their third mini album, Kickback, with their title track Kickback,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, and it came out just on Wednesday, so we literally had about a day to listen to the album itself. And in WayV fashion, I think they came back and they kicked back, they kicked right back into where
They
they
kicked
were.
back after NCT 127's Kick It, which was last year, which was like such a big hit
Yes,
in K-pop in 2020. So next year,
yes.
maybe we kick back.
Does that mean NCT Dream is kicks? I don't know. They're going to kick something too.
I don't know. No, kicked out. Kicked out. That's like one of my,
They can continue this whole kick trilogy. I don't know.
but
But
if we're gonna have like a subgroup, probably soon, hopefully soon, you're probably gonna have like another song with a kick on it. Kick Lisuman. No, kick Lisuman.
but yeah, no, I mean, they came back and the kickback, it kind of continues off like this whole like that wavy sound that we've had, like I think with all their title tracks, like with Turn Back Time and even Take Off, that very
Yeah.
kind of loud, brash NCT-esque sound that they've established themselves that is like wavy's
Mm-hmm.
NCT sound. Um,
Yeah, I feel also it feels like a sequel to Moonwalk, because when I first saw the teaser, I thought it was like another variant of like the sound of Moonwalk too. But I'm
mhm.
glad that it sounds like different when I heard the whole song. And also, yeah, Turn Back Time in regards to like the themes that they're putting out. Like I think they're basically have like this thematic motif about like time manipulation, or like the so it's as if they're like like there's time travelers as a narrative in their story, but I'm not like you, like delving into like the lore of like a
Again,
group, and I'm just like here for the music.
again, lore whore. um no,
Right.
and I was picking up on that too, like yeah, there's a lot of stuff, especially in their lyrics and stuff, they're talking about time and space, and I kind of noticed that too, even with the music video, because it kind of has a little bit like that juxtaposition, like them kind of going forward and backwards in time, even like the frames per second, and even
Right.
like at points with like how they have it edited and stuff too, so like they're definitely playing and manipulating with that too, so this is like very like almost like kind of reality bending, like time
Yeah.
space kind
It
of
even
bending
help. Yeah.
motif behind it.
Yeah. It even helps too, because NCT is really known for like their experimental um their experimentations on music, and like like blending in different genres. So it like with this in particular, it I think it really helps with like the narrative of like going into time, or like warping into time, and goes well with like the music and how it's like flowing as well, and juxtaposition of like the
Mhm.
warping motion of it.
Yeah, especially too like the repetitive motions, like in the course, like the kick, did that. We're gonna kick, get that. It like it has that. It kind of adds that whole like time,
Timey
like breaking of time.
wimey.
Yeah, we really want to like
Right.
timey wimey. If you want to go Doctor Who esque on this, I
Right.
guess.
The
I'm gonna bring out all the
difficulty.
nerdy references. I'm
I
bringing
know,
all the
right?
nerdy references to you right now. Um,
Right. Yeah.
but
What something that I noticed too, because how we just said like WayV is really known like out of like all the groups, like they're really known for their melodic utilizations in the music,
Mm-hmm.
more than like the rapping bits
Mm-hmm.
that as NCT is like really known for doing. But I think here like they incorporate more of that NCT signature sound, as they use more of the rap chants, um, even in the chorus as well. And yeah, I think that's why it felt like so different, like from other than listening to Takeoff,
Mm-hmm.
Moonwalk, and even Turn Back Time. So that's pretty much what I like when I thought of firsthand.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that too because it's a little bit, yeah, it kind of has a little bit of that like NCT rap swagger that you kind of get with Lucas's and Henry's
And
raps
Yang Yang's
and Yang
raps
Yang's raps.
too.
Yeah, like they kind of have a bit of like that. uh I guess for lack of a better term, like that choppy rap style, like you kind of see what Taeyong and Mark have, in NCT
Right.
127, I guess, a little bit. So yeah, you kind of get that, but like again, they have that really nice like balance or flow between their
Right.
raps and their vocals. Like they have the best balance between them out of all
Yeah.
the subgroups in NCT.
That's what I thought too. Like out of all the subgroups, they really succeeded in transitioning their rap
Mm-hmm.
into like the vocal portions and the bridge, and they really did flow smoothly from each other. And I think it helps too. Like I think the music was able to complement the flow as well. Because they think they in this song they use more of like such a dramatic sound, like from the
Mm-hmm.
from the bridge to the chorus line, because they use like a lot of like orchestral instruments, like with the violins, if that's correct, and makes it all like really cinematic and or really epic in a way too, like you're in
Yeah,
like watching a sci-fi movie
it's
in the
like
music video.
there's this very like almost like very thematic kind of feel to it. Like it feels like you are going into like this whole universe, for I
Right.
guess for lack of a better term, like this universe that they're establishing, I guess for them, in the NCT branch. If I guess they're establishing the universe that is their sound, but like yeah, like especially because you kind of have that with Turn Back Time a little bit too, because they have a
Right.
little bit of that, but it's even more here, and it really establishes with like the strings, and you kind of get that I think the strings throughout the whole album, which I
Hmm.
really appreciate, kind of that tying thread throughout. Ha, strings and thread. Um, but because there's a really big utilization even throughout the whole entire album. I guess if we want to go into the whole album in general, there's a lot of usage of like instrumentation rather than production. I feel like in this album that
Yes, yeah, it really feels
we haven't
like
seen
it
from
really feels like a
NCT.
lot of it feels really natural,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, makes them like the most like I think more of a grounded type of subgroup, and in NCT. And I really admire how they used a lot of like traditional music, traditional instruments in their a lot of their songs, especially in or is it like in their second song Action Figure, like they use more of the horns and a bit of the trumpets at the back,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you get to Horizon it's more of like the slow piano majority of like of the music as well. I'm kind of wondering, yeah, because I was looking at who was like involved in creating the music. I felt
Mm-hmm.
like Kun would have been like involved in it, but I'm not quite sure if he is, because he's been
Yeah.
making a lot of like really good production like in music as well. It's like
Yeah,
stepping up.
I don't know if any of the members had any input this time around, in
Mhm.
terms of like helping out, because I was trying to look for that too, like any of like the liner notes and stuff.
Yeah.
Because usually SM, like I know, has a lot of, usually like they usually outsource a lot of their stuff out to art, to their like in-house team, and like to a lot of um songwriters and stuff, unlike other companies we talked about. Usually SM is like really like big on like having outsourced stuff. So, but I mean,
Mhm.
it'd be nice to see, because I know, yeah, we talked about Kuna having a lot of doing a lot of producing and stuff lately, because we saw that with his relay time video earlier this year. And yeah, I was hoping that maybe he's having some more or having some of these input in some of the production behind it too, because I'd love to actually see like a Kun produced track eventually down the
Right.
road.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with like the whole like, yeah, all the like instruments, like because like yeah, Action Figure and Horizon are definitely like two of my favorite tracks on this album, just with the use of the instrumentation on it. Action Figure sounds a lot like, it's a lot of the like WayV swagger in a way,
Right.
but it's still, but using those more instrumentation, but instead of like production, like we've been seeing a lot with fourth generation groups. It's kind of refreshing to hear it, you know, like we're not getting all of the electronic like buzz and oversaturation and stuff. And we're getting a lot of back into like actually using the instrumentation and stuff. And it's really refreshing to hear.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm just really liking now like what WayV's done, because it's one of my reasons why like they're considered my favorite subgroup of NCT, because just how like down to earth like their music sounds, and just how it can actually take you to like gets you like just like you're like transcending into time and spaces. I think they really succeeded with that concept too, more than 127 or Dream. And so hopefully they'll be able to like do more of that down the road as well. Yeah, I was also like trying to say the going back to Kickback, it kind of reminds me of like some of the like underground American DJs that I used to listen to, thanks to podcasts that Jenny and I listen like from Double Toasted, because there's like sometimes like a music section that they sometimes have where they introduce like a lot of music in there. Kind of reminds me of like one of the artists called Bass Nectar. He's like an American DJ and does like a lot of underground like EDM music. So that's what like the when I heard Kickback for the first time, that's what it sounded like. It sounded like the song called Land of the Loop. So if you guys like guys check that out by Bass Nectar. That's pretty much what it reminds me of. If I could talk about like the flaws, I guess I think just with the title track alone, I was trying to think of something like some feedback. So I guess the outro section feels a bit abrupt, because they should have like I thought they could have like completed like the final chorus, since they they kind of sang half of it and just went to the outro rapping section. So kind of felt like, oh, or we're at the end now. Okay.
Yeah, it just kind of does just like end at the end. It just like kind of goes into this like last like bit of instrumentation and then just ends. And that's it. And that's the song. Okay. You're like, wait, that's it? Okay.
Yeah, because you have like like Xiaojun like belting out at the final chorus, and then like shortly after, and then like the rapping came a kick back, and like, oh, all right then, and kind of felt like like cut short, like, oh. Yeah, I think other than that, I just really enjoy like the album. I think you saw. I think my favorite track from there is All for Love, because I'm just super biased with like the 80s synthwave sound of in K-pop music, as well as like in music in general. So that's.
If I can tell from Take Me Home last week.
How about yours, Jenny? Like, do you have any like favorite?
Well, I talked about action figures. Like I said, I feel like that's kind of like it's like like Kickback, but it's it kind of has like a bit of a swagger to it too, because it's kind of like feels like them talking like them like being on stage and stuff. And then me being a sucker for just like slower, more melodic songs, I really, really did like Horizon. Just that really beautiful with the piano and the strings. It felt really cinematic and just really beautiful. Like it felt like something it could be like in a soundtrack or in a like an original like score kind of thing, like a song like that. It's a really gorgeous song, and like it really showcased them, I think, in this different light. Like they could do something like that. They could be on a Korean OST or something like that if they wanted to. I mean,
like this is like this really romantic dramas you can see on like a lot of Asian drama shows or movies. So that's what I like thought of when
they could get into if they could get on a Chinese drama, possibly.
I mean, some of the members are starring in the drama right now. Xiaojun, I believe, and a lot of NCT members are going into like acting roles.
True.
So.
You never know. I mean, because we've seen there's so many idols who've done OSTs out there, which OSTs are basically original soundtracks. They just call them OSTs. That's the slang in Korean. So you never know, but it felt very much like that. And when I first heard it, it caught me off guard completely, because I was not expecting that from WayV, and it was so beautifully done.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like a follow up from their NCT 2020 From Home. That's kind of what it reminds me of.
A little bit. It feels like a little bit from a little bit like a sequel to From Home. I think they did a great job. It's also on the album too. They did a Korean version of Kickback, which I thought almost they were going to be doing that version on the music shows. I'm surprised, because I did watch M Countdown this morning. They actually performed the Mandarin version. on M Countdown
Cool.
this morning. So I was actually really excited to see that. So I was like, yes, they performed the Mandarin version.
Those two like show you how like they're hopefully like the Korean shows and a lot of Korean media should be inclusive with a lot of Asian pop in general, because it's not just gonna be K-pop, because people from not just Korea but a lot of like Asian countries like China, Japan, even like North America's they're scouting a lot of like international rookies and getting them to be like K-pop stars. So hopefully we get to see more of that, not just like Korean based language singing, but also like
Right.
Mandarin or hopefully Japanese in the future. So yeah,
I mean, there's been a group, I know JO1 has been trying to promote a lot in Korea too, because I know they've been kind of doing some music show stuff too, and I've been seeing that, so they've been singing in Japanese, so maybe that's opening some doors. So who knows, it'd be kind of nice to see some more of that, hopefully making the circuit and hopefully expanding just throughout music shows in general. So yeah, I know. Anything else you wanted to add about your review to Kickback?
I don't know, just guys, I recommend you guys like listening to WayV's Kickback, and hopefully you guys find something to enjoy.
Yeah, no, seriously, like I said, WayV is seriously, like, if you listen to only one subgroup out of NCT, we do highly recommend it be WayV. WayV, I think, is like
It really opens doors to like to listen to like more of the sounds of NCT. So it's like a good gateway.
Yeah, it really is. So, because they kind of get you kind of prepared for what you get for NCT 127 and for NCT Dream. So,
I did some like some fun editing of between Kickback as well as like the previous song from 127 Kick It, and I kind of helped like they connect somehow together, and I was able to like do that. Even like some caught like some similar gas strips that WayV did from like their previous group with Kick It. Like they did like a bit of like a wave like motion with like some of their choreographies, and so they kind of transitioned that into like between those two groups. So it's really cool to see them still connected and still in tune with each other, and they don't like go in their other like complete separate ways. So I'm glad to see some of those.
Yeah, it's good to see the connections, at least between at least them the groups are connected to one another. So because they are under that big umbrella that is the lovely umbrella that is NCT. So
yeah.
But I think that's it for WayV this week. But yeah, highly recommended. Go listen to Kickback. It's a quick, like I said, quick album. It's a mini album. It's only 5 songs, 6 if you count the Korean version of Kickback, I guess. if you count that on there too. But let's get into a Rookiepedia session. So like I said, we're gonna get to stop. Chill, as she puts her cowboy hat back on. So like I said, as we get ready for Kingdom Legendary War to get started here in Korea at the end of the month, we decided we're going to go through and do Rookiepedia sessions for all 6 groups. And like I said, to be fair, we're going to go through alphabetically. And so, of course, since the first group, we're going to start with the A's. The first group on the show that we're going to talk about is quite possibly my second favorite group, probably behind BTS, Ateez, and and hopefully me not annoying Ginny to death about me completely gushing over Ateez.
Or some of the members there.
You're funny. But no, I'm hoping at least me kind of going through this, it kind of gives you guys a little bit of an idea of like why I think they're worthy of a listen and why I think they should be looked at in terms of a group. Because to note too, Ateez is going to be on the show is the youngest group in terms of debut days. Not at age total.
Are they younger than Stray Kids?
They are younger than Stray Kids. Stray Kids debuted before they did.
They are older. They look old to me.
No, Stray Kids technically I think is younger, like age-wise, average.
Okay, but in terms of like,
in terms of debut,
yeah,
Stray Kids debuted before Ateez did. So so in terms of that age, so Stray Kids has only been, or Ateez has only been around since October 2019. So 2018, 2018. Excuse me, I get my math wrong. So yeah, let me go ahead and get started with Ateez. So I guess I'll go ahead and get started with some basic history about Ateez. So Ateez is an 8-member group out of KQ Entertainment. They debuted back on October 24th, 2018. Also to note that this is the only group currently functioning out of KQ Entertainment. They are also, considering that they're the only group coming out of KQ Entertainment, they are still like quite a bit of like up there in terms of like making quite a bit of like stake in the K-pop world. They still like a substantial amount of money for the group, for the company. Yeah. So they are, they're quite popular, more so in the Western world than in Korea. And I will kind of explain why as we go into their history here too. So, but first, let me go ahead and introduce the members of the group. So like I said, there are 8 members, 2 Ateez, and to make it easy for you, there are actually no stage names for this group. Everybody actually goes by their real name. So you have, so in order, I'm actually going to go in order. So you have the leader of the group, Hongjoon, and then from there you have Songhwa, Yoonho, Yosan, San, Mingi, Wooyoung, and Jongho. In terms of the group, you have Hongjoon, who's the leader, or quote unquote now considered the captain, and putting this in quotes, the captain of the crew, as they've established now this current era of Ateez. Not sure exactly critically what that means.
Okay, you want to like briefly mention like what is like their main concept as
yes.
Ateez, why they call themselves the captain and whatnot,
yes.
the leader?
So the main concept when they debuted was pirates. Was this pirate theme, and you're going to kind of see this thematically throughout their music. And when I get into the music, you'll see kind of like thematically this whole thing. But there's a lot of pirate thematic stuff throughout it. And before I scare you off with like the whole like, oh my god, there's pirates, like it's really well done. Like it's very, very well done. It's not like pirate like you think. I mean, it's pirate maybe like what you think, but they pulled off very, very well. So like I said, there's this whole thing right now where Hongjoon's considered the leader of the group, but they've come up with this whole thing now where he's considered the captain. And so, because there's a line currently from from the leaders where he says, "I'm leader and captain," and that's where that's coming from. So,
yeah.
And then you have so you have Songhwa, who is mostly vocals and also the oldest member of the group. Yoonho is the main dancer of the group. He's probably like the top dancer. He's like a really, really good dancer of the group. He picks up dance very, very quickly. Also vocals. Yosan is another really good dancer in vocals. San, Jenny's favorite person in the world.
I don't know what you're talking about here.
Is vocals, and actually just finally got promoted to be considered a main performer. Before he was not considered like a main dancer of the group. He just recently they just redid their titles of the group, and he just got promoted to like a main quote unquote main performer of the group, up there with Yoonho. So. Big news for San. And then you have Wooyoung, who's also a vocalist and performer too, one of the top performers of the group. And then you have Mingi as well, who is a rapper, who's the other rapper of the group with Hongjoon. Hongjoon and Mingi are the main rappers of the group. And also a really good dancer as well. He's probably up there too with Wooyoung and Yoonho in terms of the dancers. And then you have Jongho, who is the main vocalist of the group. And you can tell by his vocals because he's the one who is really belting out the high notes in the songs.
That's him. Okay.
That's Jongho, who is also the youngest. He's the maknae of the group. He is
a lot of like really great like maknaes who are like really like talented vocalists too, like Jungkook, and then I think from Stray Kids too is like one of the maknaes, like a vocalist too. So
Ian's he's got a pretty good voice. But I know I'm trying to think of the other really good maknaes that are really good vocalists. But like people are considering like Jongho like one of the vocalists of the 4th generation because of his just like his vocals are just always so strong. And he just has this impressive power whenever he performs live. Just if you watch any performances live, you just see his power when he sings. So just keep an eye out on that when he sings. But Also note too, when the age wise, most of them they're all born between 1998 and 2000. So Hongjun and Sungwa are both born in 1998. Yoonho, Yosan, San, Minky, and Woo Young are all born in 1999. The chaotic 1999 group, and then poor Jongho is the only one born in 2000. But so they're all within like 18 months of one another. A lot of groups have like usually like a wider range of ages usually, so they're all pretty close. They're all about 18 months apart in terms of age, from like oldest Songhwa to the youngest Jongho. So they're all pretty relatively close in age, and I think with that really helps kind of with this like chemistry they have with them, because they really unify themselves very, very well, because their catchphrase is 8 makes 1 team. So when they announce their team, they always shout 8 makes 1 team. Hello, 안녕하세요, Ateez입니다. And yeah, they really are a great team, and
Also,
you really see the chemistry.
Yeah. Also, if I chime in, like other than like 18 makes one, 8 makes 1 team or something like that. Forgot what you said there. But I also checked like because I love like researching on like what their name means, or what what like group, why they're called that way. Like with BTS, they're called their name means bulletproof Boy Scouts, and then for NCT we got like the neoculture technology. They have a lot of like really cool concepts within their name. So like with Ateez, they're called A Teenager Z, or also known as like our A2Z, because like their rationale behind the name is like they're like the youths who strive to like eagerly do everything and achieve them. So it's like, yeah, well, that's a cool reason behind your name, and yeah, hopefully it sticks to like a lot of like future groups or like future generations, hopefully.
Yeah, it's a really cool, like, really cool way to describe their names. And then again, you kind of saw that too with like the way they kind of named their albums to start when they started naming their albums. If you looked at if you kind of looked at the first couple of albums, maybe looked at the first couple of the Treasure era. But yeah, so when they started, they were named KQ Fellas when they first trained. So when they were training, they actually came over to America to train in LA for a little bit. And they actually trained with the 9th member, who actually unfortunately did not make it into the group. And I think he left the company, and I'm not sure what he's doing now, but I know they say they've talked to him, and he's he's happy doing whatever he's doing right now.
Yeah, that's what I could have sworn, because I also knew them versus KQ Fells, because when I started going into K-pop, that was Ateez was one of my first groups that I've ever encountered, because I've seen their first performance videos on YouTube, because my sister kept on like hugging me or like spamming me with a lot of those videos. And I could have sworn I saw like 9 members, and that's why I thought like Ateez was like 9 members, but there's actually 8.
So the performance videos only have 8, have all 8 of them. The only thing that has all 9 of them is a song that they did that Hongjun wrote called "From," that has all 9 of them in, because his name is Jung Young, and he was a rapper too, and he's in there rapping as well. They actually re-released the song "From." It's on their 2nd album. It's on Treasure Episode 2, and so you can actually still hear the song, but "From" has become a fan favorite of Ateez. Ateez being again the fandom name of Ateez,
which means Ateez and Destiny, which that's what I saw too.
Yes,
even the light sticks also called Lightini.
Yeah, we call them the Lightini, so which I will have my hands on in Lightini here very, very soon. I just ordered myself one here, so but yeah, and so they are and they really have this really great relationship with Ateez has a really great relationship with Ateez. Again, through social media. Like I said, the performance videos that they did, they released 3 pre-debut days, which with them dancing in LA to some hip hop tracks. Famously, I think there's the first one where they danced to "Pick It Up."
Pick it up.
And which they've actually danced quite a bit on their when they were doing their showcase tour back in 2019. It is again as a fan favorite of Ateez, to the point that literally there's a fan chat to "Bad Bitch Puerto Rican" when they perform it. But yeah, it is seriously one of the if I recommend anything, go watch the performance videos, go search for them on YouTube. They're
My
really, really
favorite
good.
one was with Cardi B's Lick.
Hmm.
This is like their second performance video, and I think that's like the one like I kept on like seeing
Going
on
back
loop as
to,
well. Yes.
yeah. And then there's a third one too that is actually just featuring Yunho. That's him dancing to Coco with some backup dancers too. That is just really showcases him as a really, really good dancer because his technicality is just so good. And so you just see him, and considering how tall he is, because he's probably about 6 feet tall, and so for him being so tall and so lanky, and he has such great control over his body, he's so technical and so precise. So
Hmm.
and like those videos really kind of help them get attention, especially again in the West, and that really kind of helped them get started in their career. So when they came out with their first debut track, when they came out with Pirate King as their debut track on October 24th, 2018, that's they kind of had a bit of an audience already here in the West. I mean, and their sound is very, as we talked about last week on the show when we were talking about Fever Part 2, is a very hip hop esque kind of sound. It's also kind of
Yeah.
categorized in that noise genre of the generation four.
Yeah, it's like heavy EDM.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of like almost like a dubstep kind of sound as well.
Yeah, they play a lot with that too. They play a lot with the EDM sounds, a lot of production and stuff too. Important to note too with their production, like I said, Hongjoon and Mingi have writing credits on every single song that Ateez does. They write every single one of their raps. Hongjoon has has some major writing credits on a bunch of songs. To the later in their discography, they've also worked majorly with the same songwriting team out of KQ Entertainment, known as Edenary, which is run by a singer-songwriter named Eden, who I also recommend you should check out Eden's music. He's a great singer. They've worked together. I mean, it sounds from what I've heard, sounded a little contentious because I don't think Eden originally wanted to be a stuck behind a production desk having write idol songs, but I think eventually like he kind of warmed, they worked up to it, and they've worked together very, very well. And the music that they've produced, I think, has been really, really well, and it's been the same songwriting team for Ateez since day one. So everything that they've had has been basically this core group
Mm-hmm.
out of this called Edenary. And so that I think has helped kind of develop their sound and keep their sound growing, and just kind of keep their musicality, being able to, I guess, diversify and just grow and be a little more experimental with some stuff, because I feel like they've
Yeah.
been able to be experimental.
Mm-hmm.
So because I
Yeah, other than
mean
NCT or like Stray Kids, I think they're one of the really great contenders in bringing a lot of great experimentations with their music. Maybe
mm-hmm.
some people would be like really appeal to that, and then there's like others who would be like kind of thrown off with like a bunch of like trends, like weird transitions within like the music. So it can get like pretty difficult like with people getting into like music like ATEEZ. So I think we'd be able to provide some like really good music for you to listen to first for ATEEZ, and hopefully we'll be able to bring that in later.
Yeah, and we'll get into that. I think when we get into our picks, when we get into our song choices at the end of the episode. But I mean, because even like when they first debuted, so when you have Pirate King, which is a very hip hop EDM, heavy track, and it's very brash in your face. And then you have something also when they debuted, they also had another track called Treasure, which is a little bit more softer, a little bit more, it's still loud in a way, because it's still like really, I think it really more showcased their vocals in terms, especially it really showcased Jongho's vocals more than anything. It showcased like his range a lot, and showcased like the other other 5 vocalists of the group too, as well as showcasing Hongjoon and Mingi's rapping skills, because I think Hongjoon and Mingi are fantastic rappers,
Oh
hands
yeah, I
down.
think that they work well together with the rapping, and like there's with their distinct style of rapping, because I think with
Mm-hmm.
Hongjin, he sounds like more nasally. Well, Mingi has like a really deep like a tone in his
Mm-hmm.
rapping skills. So
Yeah.
right, yeah, I love them as a duo of rappers.
Yeah, they work together very, very well with their rapping styles and stuff. And no, they've worked together very, very well in just how they've grown and stuff. And then, like you said, you just kind of see this progress, further down. Like you see it, this brash sound continue like with Holla Holla and Say My Name into their second album, and then but then you kind of see things change a little bit into their third album, where things start getting they start getting more experimental, and they start playing more tropical beats and tropical sounds and things like
Yeah,
WayV.
sorry.
No, I love WayV. WayV is a great song. WayV is such a beach song. And start playing with stuff like that. But you almost kind of start seeing a little taste of those things too in the first two albums. But then they start playing with it more and having those more tropical beats in those songs. But then they're able to kind of incorporate all this stuff into like their distinct style that is considered like their Ateez style, I think.
Yeah.
And like it's very, and it's, I will say this, it probably does appeal, I think, more to a Western audience than it does to a Korean audience, I think. And I think that's probably why. I mean, because I've read and I've looked at some people's like, talks on Twitter and stuff about like, well, why aren't they having much success over in Korea? Why are they more seeing success here like in the States? Why are they seeing more success like in Europe and stuff? So for example, before the pandemic hit last year, they were going to be on a world tour, and their dates, both in Europe and the United States, were nearly sold out or sold out. And on most of the tour dates before they had to basically postpone the shows because of the pandemic. When I heard the shows are postponed, they're not canceled. Because I was actually going to go to the Chicago show for Ateez in 2020. But yeah, I mean, like they're very popular, and even on a Twitter survey this last year here in America, Ateez was the fifth most talked about musical group in America, behind BTS, Kanye, Beyonce, and Drake.
Oh, that's awesome. And you told me about one before, like, how, like their origins and how they came about, like, cause, KQ Entertainment is not as like big of a name as SM or, JYP or YG, but it felt like another, they're probably becoming like another, like a BTS, underdog story. I think they grew, like, they're more well known here in like in international, like with international fan bases, or other than in Korea. But I think hopefully as like the time grew on and then they're able to flourish with their careers, they'll be able to gain a lot of attention and like more recognition with like both fan bases and demographics with like outside of Korea and in their in their country as well. So
Yeah,
and like you said, like they've been named like they've been like named or awarded the next generation. I think they were given that award in the Golden Disc in 2019, and even in like they're becoming like worldwide fans' choice in like Mama 2019 and 2020. And like you said, they're called like the fourth generation leaders of K-pop, like by their official ambassadors in Korea's Ministry of Culture. So I think they're gaining a lot of like momentum and then gaining a lot of popularity, and hopefully they'll be able to like strengthen that throughout the time.
And I think they are starting to get a little bit more noticeability in Korea itself too. And I think a lot of that helped by them doing a lot more stuff domestically in Korea, especially. I think it helped with the pandemic. Their appearances on Immortal Songs, with them doing covers of Black Cat Narrow and them doing a cover of It's Raining. Also to note too, they are the only K-pop male group to win multiple times on that show. There's no other group that has ever done that. And that is an impressive feat, because that show is only voted on by the audience that's in-house, that is at the time, and it is all basically KBS like personnel, basically people who are announcers and stuff on the channel. So for people in the audience to be that impressed by Ateez, to beat out like other soloists, other really big artists. I mean, I was impressed for them because I watched them compete for It's Raining, and they beat out two singers from 2PM, and they beat out Jamie Park and stuff like that too. And it was just really impressive. And they impressed Rain, who, we've talked about Rain being, a big part. And they've impressed Kim Jong-kook, who's one of the original members of Turbo, when they covered Black Cat and Arrow. And then when they did their Halloween gift to A-Tinny, when they released a music video cover of Black Cat and Arrow. And they actually had him cameo in the music video, which was a very big surprise. Like, he was very impressed with them.
Yeah.
And then even Super Junior has been impressed with them too, because they were helping out with a project on Knowing Brothers, one of the side projects that I guess a couple of castmates were doing, and a couple of castmates are members of Super Junior, Heechul, and they were filming a music video, and Ateez was helping out because they literally were doing dancing and stuff for them, and they were just really impressed by them performing and stuff too, and just they're getting a lot of noticeability now by their older sunbaes in Korea.
Yeah, senior groups.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I know like a lot of like groups would do like about like some cover renditions and like in famous award shows or in other shows on like Korean media. But I feel like Ateez has been like doing a lot of those, like a bunch of really great cover songs for like really famous Korean hits at one time. Like I remembered couple of years ago they did their rendition of Blood, Sweat and Tears by BTS, but they're still able to make their own like flair, but then like it makes it like like their own AT style. So even like BTS too, when they saw the performances, like they're really blown away too.
Yeah, because I remember watching that cover live. That was actually during Mama 2019. They were doing a medley. Yeah. It was crazy because they were doing a medley while they were performing Wonderland, but they were also doing other songs because they started with performing Wonderland, cut in their cover Blood, Sweat and Tears, went back into Wonderland, then put in a cut of Shiny's View, and then put out, and then they did another girl group song, and then came back out, and then all of a sudden Miggy took her shirt off, and then it was just I lost my shit at that point because it was 4 a.m. Because all of a sudden Miggy's shirt went off and just Ming titties and
I think and this is like the point where I started spamming and started like messing with Jenny from there on with a bunch of AT stuff. And then it's all gone.
It's basically been downhill. It's been downhill from there with them and their clothes. I swear to God. I should have known at that point. That was the point.
With our beef with each other with ATs. Scamming like Son gifts and.
I should have known at that point when Mingy ripped his shirt open at Mama 2019. That was the point. They lost their minds, and that's when the clothes started coming off, because it's between that Son was showing his abs during Inception era, and now Son with the less and less clothing he's been showing during Fireworks era. Anyway, but the one thing I'm going to talk about, like if anything, like you should know about Ateez is like it should be their performance skills. Is their stage presence and their performance, because that is, I think, the most important thing to take from them. If you don't like the music, if you don't like anything else to talk about, just watch them perform once on stage.
Watch their performance on mute and just watch how like good they they dance. And I think that's why people praise them so much right now, and like in this generation of K-pop, like because they're one of the most like dynamic dancers in this day and age. And like their performances is like it's really extravagant in a way. Like they actually, I know you're gonna like talk about this. Like they emote. Like they're really dramatic in their choreographies too.
I don't want to sound mean when I talk about this, but like I like almost equate them like as like theater kids, like the kind of like theater kids I would hang out with in high school. But like I would totally love hanging with these theater kids in high school because I was totally that kind of person in high school. But they have this amazing theatricality and stage presence and charisma that all 8 of them have when they're on stage. And they they emote so much and through their actions and their face and their choreography. Because there's this whole thing where for the longest time, a lot of groups just had this like blank stare, or they just, a lot of girl groups either just smile, or the guy groups just have like this like, blank stone stare kind of like on their face, like, just to kind of power through their, choreography. They
Mhm.
like really emote whatever the song entails, like whatever the story of the song wants to be, the passion of it, or like the anger or the happiness of it, whether you're talking, they're dancing to WayV, which is more of a happy, joyous song. Like they really bring that happiness and that joyous energy to it.
Like
If you're
it's just like with
dancing,
them like bug-eyed like eyes, and then just smiling throughout the whole time. So just that kind of like that kind of performance.
yeah, it's really infectious. And then like when they're dancing something like Answered, like you just see like the like this is like the heartbreaking passion behind it, and just like all this like underlying level like kind of darkness and just like hurt behind it.
They start like crying
And
out in the stage, and they start like crying. And no, I'm kidding.
no, but like you see that, and like even like the crazy thing too is like even like their choreography, they are amazing about them changing their choreography up a little bit, like throughout like them just performing it through the era itself and even afterwards. Like they're so good at changing it up and just making it their own and changing up constantly to fit it and make it better and just make the story just feel better to themselves. And I will say this too, they are one of the best live singing groups I know of right now. Between like they are so good at like having this improvised live, because there's always kind of debate about like a lot of groups kind of like this is not, there's this thing like they sound like they're eating CDs because they sound like how they sound on the CD, or when you listen to them on Spotify or listen to them, like they sound exactly the same. They kind of bring this whole live energy when they sing, that you can tell that they're singing live, because there's a little bit of that rawness to them. Like you can tell when Hongjun raps, because he has a bit of that like kind of rawness to his voice. You can tell when Jongho's really getting to those high notes. You can really tell when San's really belting it out, because San is possibly the most charismatic dancer out there. There's a whole reason for a long time people thought San was one of the main, if not like the main dancer of the group, because of just how powerful he was on stage. And people were
Yeah,
shocked to know he was not the main dancer of the
I
group. That's
that's
Yoonho.
I was like shocked. Like I thought he's the main dancer of Ateez, but then you told me like no, he's not really like has that main position. And
Nope.
yeah, no, like it's one of the like the main reasons. Like it's because of like people like Son. Okay, I'm gonna get into a deep confessional here, but how yeah, just like how he's like able to perform, and like how he has like like this face sometimes whenever he performs. Like
Mhm.
sometimes like he has like the central tone into him, and like always like with his eyes as well. But also like every time there's like a when they get to the crescendo of like any music, then there's like the parts of him where he looks like he's getting possessed by the devil, because like they always like have like this really have like vibration into like in their movements, as well as like, and their eyes like go like somewhere else. It's like
Mhm.
like their eyes like go at the back of their heads and just let loose of
Mhm.
there's like some have like some other force take over their dance, and then that's why there's like some kind of like force, like some kind of outer force into like in their performance and in their movements, and that's how they feel so like different to whereas like from the rest of like the groups right now who with their performances in their dances.
It's really impressive. Like I said, like if you go watch is a performance of theirs out there, just to kind of get an idea of what we're talking about, because and I mean any performance, because I think any performance you will get an idea, whether it's their current comeback with Fireworks, um even watching like one of their Mortal Song stages. If you go watch their Black Cat and Arrow stage, or It's Raining, even their Mama stage from this past year, when they were performing Answer and Inception to basically preview them to be on Kingdom. I mean, those are, I think, some of the best ones to look at. But I mean, any song I think of theirs is good. I mean, like I said, their choreography, they're so good at just being able to like take their choreography and just be able to advance it to the next level
Mhm.
and just make it their own and just really improvise on it so well and just make it just it's just so captivating to watch. They're just always so captivating to
Right.
watch and able to just draw you in. And that's why, like, they're one of the few groups I will actually literally sit down and watch every single stage on a music show of theirs, because they will change it up every single time when they're on a music show. There's always something a little bit different to them, because most of the time, most of the groups will have this, it'll be the same thing over and over and over. For them, I know it'll change every single time. Not just the outfits, like something, like whether it's like something slightly in the choreography or something like just passion wise, or just, you know, a little something in the movements or something, it will change. And it's fascinating to watch it just kind of grow from there.
It's just so alluring in their performances, you know, like it's like their way of dancing, like just really takes you in. Sometimes I think that's how it did to me.
So yeah, but I'm hoping, like I said, because like I said, I do kind of see like a bit of a BTS kind of story with them too, in terms of like that they have a lot of that, you know, international love right now, slowly starting to get that Korean love, I think. Hopefully, like this is going to be this right now is going to be the start of them getting more and more of that love, them being on Kingdom. The Yo-sang currently is now one of the MCs on SBS MTV's The Show, which is a music show that airs on Tuesdays. So he's going to be doing that. He's actually been doing pretty well, I think, considering I know he's been having to basically leave early both weeks. He's had to MC because the first week they were doing their showcase for the album, and last week they had to go film Kingdom. So hopefully you'll actually be able to stay for the whole show this week. As well as half of the group currently is set to premiere in a drama that's actually going to debut on April 2nd. As of the show, Yoonho, Jongho, Sungwon, and San are going to be in a drama called Imitation that's going to be airing on KBS 2. Yoonho is actually one of the male leads in the drama. So I'm actually pretty excited for that drama too. It's based on a webtoon. It's actually a really popular webtoon. It's a really good webtoon. I read a little bit of it, and not to get too spoiled on the show, but just kind of get a taste of what's going to happen. And I'm pretty excited to see them acting and see how their acting skills go. And hopefully, like, just having a bit more noticeability in Korea, hopefully just kind of gets them, you know, a little bit, you know, some more fans and some more love and stuff. Because I really do think they have what it takes to be really successful. They just are such great performers and just have such great passion behind them. And I think they really they are setting the bar really, really high in terms of the fourth generation groups, in terms of like their performance and stuff. And I really hope that they can like really help the genre grow, especially in that performance aspect of it, with what they're doing. And that's my dream. What?
Are there any kissing scenes in that drama?
Rumor has it there might be a kissing scene with Yoonho and one of the actresses, supposedly. I don't know. That's what I heard. Rumor.
But yeah, I was about to say, like, within the drama. So because you know how, like they said, like their performances like has like a lot of theatrics and like but a lot of emotions in their facial expressions. So hopefully they be able to, like, I guess pull that off and channel some of those into their acting, and hopefully see if that works.
We'll see. Like I said, Yoonho is the only one who's got a main part. The other three have, Jongho has a semi-ish big part. San and Sungwon are kind of smallish parts, but we'll see. They literally are. They're literally the sidekicks to the idol group that Yoonho technically leads. And Jongho's in a group. Is the maknae of the group of the main lead of the show. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun show. From whatever the webtoon itself is actually really funny, and actually kind of it's a really good webtoon. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And like I said, really looking forward to seeing them perform on Kingdom. Like, I'm sad that Minky's not going to be there performing, but I'm just still really happy he's still healing from you know, his anxiety right now, and just is getting better. Rumor has it he just shot something with him lately, so maybe he's coming back soon.
Hopefully, because I know like they'll be having like their Japanese extended play,
Mhm.
and from like it's called Ateez from A to Z. So
Yes.
I don't know if that's in regarding to that, but
I
or
no, I
something
don't
else.
think so because they're only promoting that as seven as well.
Oh, okay,
Because
all right,
they literally said on the release for that, some of that is only seven of them recording, and some of that has
okay,
Mingy on it. A Mingy on it. Some of them doesn't have Mingy on it. So,
okay.
yes, I have a feeling some of that they probably recorded post Mingy going on hiatus. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, with Mingy coming, like recording something, supposedly rumor has it. I don't know if it's confirmed or not. Makes me wondering if it is ATZ related. But
Maybe, hopefully. Well, here's hoping.
here's how, like I said, I'm really hoping they drop something because, like I said, um, I am so confused after reading that diary entry from this whole era because they dropped a whole bunch of information in the diary and that like I need another video. They better drop another video before the end of this era.
You don't need to drop another video. We're good. We're good. They're good without me.
No, yeah. Like I
I'm
said,
good without
yeah. If you would need to know anything about their, like I said, if you need to know anything about their universe, like I said, it's pirates. It's them searching for like their quote unquote
treasure.
treasure, which right and like I said, when I get into the music, because we're gonna get into our playlist, I think, for the show. I also would like to know too when they're in their music, like if you listen to their music, I say listen to their music straight through because they have these great intros and outros and cinematic-esque like um kind of like interludes in their music a little bit that kind of fulfill into the story a little bit. Because I feel like they're, like I said, their music is like the score to this whole adventure we're on with them right now. And so like I feel like some of the songs are either like the main ATEEZ group we're talking about, or and I feel like some of the songs are possibly the darker Holidays, which
Oh
we talked
boy.
about Holidays last week. Which I'm not I haven't confirmed or denied this theory yet. Because I mean, obviously we know Hala Hala is Holidays, but because I feel like
If you guys forget, Hala Hala or the Halatees name is when they are dressed in like this really black cowboy outfits with like coverings on their faces. So that's what we're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah, the black masks and basically like the long suit coats and the black fedoras. Supposedly, I'm not sure if this is going to be confirmed or not because according to the diary, I'm wondering if they're going to be called the quote unquote black pirates because that's what I saw in the diary.
Oh,
So
I thought like black cowboy something or the.
no, I saw black pirates. I'm like, is that what Holidays is? Because I have a theory right now in that because basically I'm deep diving into the theory right now. Because currently in the universe, so everything that happens currently in the treasure era of in the music videos is an era, and then everything currently right now in Fever era. So the last album, this album is a precursor or prequel to Treasure, and so
Yeah.
we're kind of going back into time a little bit. So they've we kind of established like a little bit of their history with the 8 members of them in Zero Fever Part 1. Zero Fever Part 2, well, we've made the jump into this new, well, we basically found out it's a dystopian world. That's what Fireworks is. It's the dystopian world that Hong Jun basically kicked them into because like I said last week, Hong Jun's an idiot. Because Hong
Okay,
Jun
you'll be able to like understand if you like they're really into the story of ATs.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So basically, yeah, they're stuck in a dystopian world right now, and that's basically what has been going on in Fireworks. And so, yeah, we're like I said, it's getting really sci-fi right now. So, if there's any other 18s out there who like to hit me up with theories, I love to bounce theories off people. Trying to follow a
Watch
couple
out,
of theories.
guys.
I haven't bounced any other theories off people yet because I'm still trying to like figure out what's happening this era because I'm still trying to get hints. Like I said, I'm still waiting for another video to drop if anything happens before I like go complete like Red Twine, Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny, Pepe Sylvia
Spoilers.
esque.
Spoilers, Jenny.
Wait. Oh, I know what the hell you're gonna do to me. Yes. Waiting. She's gonna Photoshop me. Just wait. Let's just get into these song picks before you just incriminate me further, shall we?
Stay tuned.
She's gonna incriminate me further. I'm so far gone into this Ateez pirate dystopian sci-fi. I don't know what the hell's happening anymore. Let's put it that way. Jenny, why don't you go ahead with your song picks before I go crazier?
Oh no, we'll just stay here. We'll just stay here until you crumble into your insanity and your lures.
No.
Okay. Okay. Anyways, okay. Like since they're like a fairly new group, since they came out in 2018, and plus I'm not as much as like a big fan as much as like some person over there. But my song picks are mostly just like the singles and like the hits that they came out with. So going into their first album, from the Treasure episode 1 all to 0, I have Pirate King, which is their debut track. And then moving on to their episode 2 of Treasure, 0 to 1, I have Holla Holla, which means Hearts Awaken, Live Alive. I know it's kind of a weird title. And Desire, which we talked about in our Valentine's episode. And then moving on to episode 3 of Treasure, 1 to All, I have WayV, with the chorus of Hakuna Matata ya. Oh. Okay.
I still was not expecting them to do a dark cover of WayV during the Kingdom episode 0 global live stream. That shook me. That really shook me.
I'm glad I was able to listen to like the audio version on YouTube, but I'm glad it's still there. I mean, they just put like a bunch of like archived or like a bunch of like used performances from like their other shows instead of like the one on Kingdom, so they won't get like struck down by copyrights and Mnet. But nice. Okay. For the Treasure episode, Finn, or the final part of the Treasure era, also action, I have Wonderland. It's also one of their main hits. I think that's one of like the songs that made me like really get into like their discography more. It was thanks to the song Wonderland. And then into like their recent I was about to say hijinks here, into the recent albums, the Zero Fever Part 1, which was last year. I have To the Beat. I think that's recently one of my songs like I go on loop, because I love like I love the hard hip hop and like the beat into it, especially when you get into the outro section. Like that's one of the most like considered like part of the noise K-pop tracks right now. And then their latest album, which is Zero Fever Part 2, I think we talked about last week in a previous episode. So I have Fireworks, or I'm the One, and then their B-sides, which I'll say, I have The Leaders and Take Me Home, which is like also Jenny's favorite because it has like the retro 80s synthwave into it, mixed into like their heavy EDM sound as well. Mm-hmm. So that's part of my short list of Ateez's music.
All right, and let me go ahead and round out my list of Ateez. I'm going to get a little bit more into the B-sides of their music, so we can kind of round out some of their discography a little bit. So going back into the Treasure era with Treasure episode 1, I'm going to also add on their second song that they debuted with Treasure. Again, it's a little bit of a slower song. I think really showcases the talents of the vocal line, especially Jongho, kind of showing off his range and just really kind of showcasing like, the vocalization on the team is really, really well. Stay is also a really good song off of episode 1. Starts kind of bringing that tropical sound that we kind of start seeing through early Treasure era of Ateez, that you kind of start seeing throughout their music. So, and it just is a really fun, just kind of poppy beats. Into episode 2, besides Holla Holla, I also talk about Say My Name. Say My Name is possibly like the song that got me into being into Ateez. Like between Holla Holla and Say My Name, those were the songs that got me into being Ateez. Wonderland is what cemented me into being Ateez, but Hala Hala Say My Name is like what introduced me into becoming an Ateez fan. And those are also must-watch music videos, I think, and just Say My Name is just such a brash and bombastic song and such a great song of theirs. And such a great song just even as a second album, like impressive. And then to talk about Promise, it's just a great song. It's a fan favorite of Ateez. Just it's a really fun song. Off of episode 3, this is really hard for me to pick because I consider Treasure episode 3 to just be perfect straight through. Like I will literally listen to episode 3 straight through, period, because it's perfect from Utopia all the way to Dancing with Butterfly Wings. Having to pick a couple songs off of the album though, because I had to. Besides WayV, which Ginny talked about, I picked Utopia, which is a really great song to start the album off really, really well. It's just this really bright song, just kind of gets you really going on the album. And then my personal favorite track of Ateez is Aurora, is the first song that Hongjoong has major writing credits on. And it's just a really, really beautiful and gorgeous song. It became so popular with Ateez that they actually eventually did make a music video and did perform it. And it's got some beautiful choreography to it too. And it's a gorgeous song. I highly recommend it. Going to episode Treasure Fin, besides Wonderland, Mist is a really, really great B-side. It's just really, really soulful, sympathetic song. Like I really recommend it. It just really puts you in your feels. Win is a really, really hype song. Like just, hey, we're gonna win. Like it's just, it really puts you like in them. It puts you in a kick-ass mood. Just yeah, it's one of those kinds of songs. Thank You is a really great song. It's just like, it's also known as Chingu in the Korean version, Chingu being known as friend. It's just the way the stories that come out of writing from the song, especially it came out with how Hongjoong wrote his lyrics. He wrote it talking about Seonghwa, because Hongjoong and Seonghwa have a very, very close friendship with each other. To note too, a lot of the friendships within Ateez are very, very close. I can talk about that before we wrap up at the end of the episode. But yeah, Hongjoong wrote the lyrics literally to talk about Seonghwa, because he really thanks Seonghwa for being his friend. So, and then
being my friend. Sorry.
Thank you. And then Sunrise, which is another song Hongjoong has some major writing credits on too. It's just a really, really, really beautiful song, just to kind of help finish out the album before we get to the the end of Treasure era here. We get into Treasure Epilogue, which I probably picked. I actually almost literally picked the whole entire album this one too, because after episode 3,
everything.
It's everything. After Epilogue, after episode 3, Epilogue is probably my second favorite album of theirs. Answer is probably my second favorite song of theirs, period. It's one of the most experimental songs, I think, when they go in this more experimental track, when they're doing their when they're doing bigger songs, because this is not very, it's more EDM, but it's a little bit more soulful. It's a little more soulful and a little bit more beautifully arranged. It's not so harsh, brash, in your face. It just has this beautiful poeticness to it, and that's why I really like Answer so well. And it's just a gorgeous song, and there's a reason why they've performed it so much throughout 2020. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous track. Horizon it's a very interesting track. It's again another very experimental track of theirs. It's got some very interesting yodeling in it, but it works really well. Yes, no. I say experimental yodeling. Listen to the track. Get back to me on it. Talking about Horizon.
Horizon. Okay, another Horizon song here.
Yes, another Horizon song. But it's a very good track. Star 1117, which is again 1117, 1117 is a reference to Ateez, which is a reference to Ateez Day, the day that Ateez fandom was named. So that is a reference to, it's a song written for Ateez. So it's a really, really pretty song that they wrote to honor their fans. And it's just a really, really beautiful song when they sang it. And then Precious, which is just a really good song to wrap up the whole entire Treasure era. There's so many references to previous songs throughout. I will say in both Answer and Precious, there are so many references to previous songs in both of these songs through their previous albums. So if you take a listen, you can hear those previous references, and it's quite fascinating to hear it. Going into Fever Part 1, Ginny had talked about To the Beat. I'm going to add on there Thanks and Inception, which were their heavily promoted tracks. Inception was their main title track, which was voted on by fans to be the main promoted track during their last comeback era. And then Thanks was followed up by that. Inception is this really beautiful, again, more of an experimental, it's kind of like Answer, a little bit more soulful song of theirs, but it was really beautifully done. And then Thanks is just more, again, like kind of that typical Ateez kind of in your face. They kind of referenced it kind of being like a little more kind of like immature-ish in a way, because that's kind of like what they were kind of going for in that feeling in that era. And it really kind of comes off really well done. Like they have this like really kind of fun swagger to it when they sing Thanks. It's just a really fun song. And then Good Little Boy, another song that Hongjoong has major writing credits on too. Again, has a little bit of that kind of like immature swagger to it too. It's kind of got this very interesting strumming of the guitar in it too. It's kind of got this little bit of Western-esque kind of vibe to it as well when you listen to the song. So, and then off their latest album, we talked about Fireworks, Leaders, and Take Me Home. I'm going to also add on their Celebrate, which we talked about last week, again, was a gift for Ateez last year for Ateez Day on 11/17. They added to the album this year to this, which is just another really beautiful song just to celebrate their fans, and just a really great song just to kind of like make you feel good, you know, just kind of just celebrate. You literally just celebrate and just makes you feel good. And I just really like too, because it's a great way, because it actually plays the members' lower vocal register, because like it plays with sounds low. I didn't talk about this last week, but like a lot of the lower registers I get to play with this time in their songs, which we don't get to see a lot. And I really appreciate that in the song. So, but yeah, that is those are my picks. A lot of them are B-sides, and again, we will have these up on our Spotify playlist, because now we have Spotify back for all of our K-pop stuff. So yay. I guess one other thing too I want to mention before we wrap up too, they are also like really big into ships. And so like a lot of K-pop groups are really a lot of groups, I know a lot of groups are not don't like to talk about like ships and stuff. They embrace it. They really embrace it. To the point that like one of the biggest ships in the group is between Woo Young and San. They've talked about this being like they literally talked about them being soulmates and stuff. To the point that it is called Woosan. Like they embrace it so hard. They literally have a catchphrase that they do.
They like make out it, you know, on V Live or something. They're embracing the ship.
Oh, they've embraced it. They've embraced it so much. Like it is everywhere. Like how much they've embraced it, to the point like Songwa has turned into basically becoming the third wheel of said ship.
Third wheel.
Yes, it's because it's like now become Woo Sanwa. To the point Hongjoong's become jealous because because someone keeps trying to join up with Woo Young and San on most of the V Lives. And basically, and so because of that, Hongjoong and Songwa have actually now made a ship name themselves they call themselves the Matses. It's a whole thing in this fan. It's a whole thing. And then Yosang and Woo Young also are kind of shipped together too, because they're really good friends, because they used to train together. They actually are both former Big Hit trainees.
Oh right, I heard like one of them. Yeah, they both Big Hit.
They both used to train under Big Hit Entertainment. So also to note too, Woo Young is the biggest army out there, and he will let anybody know about it? Like, he is seriously the biggest BTS fan out there, and like,
A lot of Ateez like members do a lot of like BTS covers or like like dances as
oh
well
no,
in their own time.
it's so no, he's seriously the biggest. He's the biggest army out there. It's hilarious, like how much like he freaks out about army or about BTS. It's hilarious. He's also a huge Jimin stan.
I
Also,
bet like he tries to like this like jump ship and then see there jump ship and go to like a BTS. Trying to
no,
be their additional member.
they were literally doing, I think they were doing a radio show one time, and he was actually really mad because he had to miss the Soul final concerts. Because he's like, they're literally performing tonight and I'm missing it.
Without me.
He was so, it's like one of the early, he's also know Woo Young is loud as hell. He's seriously so loud.
The biggest hit for BTS. It's not
but,
us. It's actually Woo Young this whole time.
Yeah, it's been Woo the whole time. Yeah, no, like I love Ateez to bits. They're seriously like one of my favorite groups. They're out there right now. They're so much fun. There's a lot of stuff out there on the internet with them. To note too, they are one of the few groups like they will have subtitles out almost immediately for their content.
Cool. Yeah,
like they are super easy to get into because they have like immediate subtitles. Like this fandom knows they are spoiled because we have immediate subtitles. So, yeah, that's Ateez in a nutshell. I think, like I said, I didn't want to go too much into the universe because if I do, I'm gonna go like
we can have like a special show of
like
her like explaining away like the story of Ateez and like
I need a video. I need to do a video of it because I literally need to like show the symbols and stuff too because there's a lot of symbology and stuff. Especially
like,
with like
your own one woman show, and you just like ask me to like do the slides for you.
Oh, especially just seeing the Japanese like reveal pics, and now I just saw San's pic today, and I'm like, oh god, they're tying the Japanese stuff to it too. Shit, now I have to get the Japanese album.
I saw it too. I saw that. I didn't save that on Instagram or whatsoever. Didn't save any of the pictures on Instagram whatsoever.
No, not at all.
Nope, not me. And I'm completely innocent. I do not fall into their cursed sins and all their friggin' their hoish antics.
Yeah, no, not me. Also trying to screenshot, demonic Songwall yesterday during the music show because I swear to God, his eyes rolled in the back of his head, and that was just creepy as hell.
That's why I keep saying that they're so possessed every time they perform. Their eyes go in the back of their head, and then like they're always like so that start shaking, and their body is just what's happening here? It's like called The Exorcist.
Yeah, literally saw that yesterday. I literally saw that yesterday morning as I woke up. I woke up, like checked the music show performance, saw his eyes roll the back of his head. I'm like, what the actual fuck is happening?
Also, thank you for showing me that song, the possessed pictures, because it's not like I'm gonna use that for other things later on down the road. So.
Damn it! Should we just plug our stuff and go before I get incriminated further today?
You can find me in my own hellhole, which is at Ginny Liano on Facebook, or you can look at my other innocent and cleansed design pages, which is at Ginny Liano Design. So that is GINNYLEANO Designs, and on Instagram, which is just at Ginny Designs. And hopefully you'll be able to find other like personal links into those pages too, because I always post my other links in whatever posts I have in my design stuff. So, and just go ahead, Jenny.
And you can find me, Jenny. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Jenny Matasek, Jenny with an I, Matasek. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Chaos Bulldog. You can also find the show pages for the Noonas podcast at Noonas_podcast. Don't forget the underscore. Again, Spotify playlist for this episode will be in our SoundCloud links will be under those handles as well. Again, happy to have our music back on Spotify and have our playlist back full. So yay. You can also check out the video form of the show on the Metropolis Collective on Facebook. They'll be really good this episode too, because we're going to have pictures of talking about Ateez this week, just to help kind of get a visual of what we're talking about. If you have any emails, questions, comments, concerns, AU theories, hit me up. You can hit us up at noonaspodcast@gmail.com.
Also, you can like also be sure to find us on Twitter at Noonas underscore podcast, because I'm starting, and much to Jenny's dismay, I'm starting to post up like some YouTube unlisted videos too. So anything I just come up with in my small brain of mine, I just like post the links up there on Twitter, and then you can just watch the videos from there.
Yeah, basically, Jenny's just going to be torturing me on Facebook for now, or on unlisted YouTube videos from now on, because that is what she's going to be doing. So basically, hashtag Jenny needs to be stopped is what I've decided.
Nope, never. Never stop.
So, well, at that, this has been the newest podcast for the week. Like I said, we have a couple big reviews next week. We got obviously Rose's from Blackpink's solo debut next week, as well as we have a girl group debut. I don't know if you've been seeing Purple Kiss's preview stuff.
Yes, I checked out like some of their videos last night. I was like, whoa, that sounds like a mixture of like idols and Billie Eilish's music too, because they have like a really dark but really such like a really mature sounding sound from them. Magic, since they're under like the same company as Mamamoo is in, so I think that really helps with their influence and like in their music too.
Yeah, so this should be really fun to check out, as well as I think we have a couple other music released next week. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think Super Junior also comes out with music next week too. I think I can't remember. There's so many comebacks happening soon, as well as we're probably going to do a Rookiepedia session next week too for B2B to get us ready for Kingdom. So look forward to that as well. This has been the Noonas podcast. Fighting.
Stop being hoes, Ateez.
Never. R.